Have you ever been cast out by the family you loved because you chose to love a man? Connor Thompson stared at the cracked ceiling of his childhood bedroom, the question echoing in his mind like a relentless drumbeat. It was a warm summer evening in the small town of Willow Creek, Texas, where everyone knew everyone and secrets had a way of festering like open wounds. At 24, Connor had lived a double life for too long. By day, he helped his father at the auto shop, greasy hands and forced smiles hiding the truth. By night, he texted Cameron, the man who had turned his world upside down during his college years in Austin. Cameron, with his easy smile and kind eyes, had been his anchor, his secret. But secrets do not last forever. The family dinner that night was supposed to be ordinary. Mom's famous roast chicken, Dad's stories from the shop, his sister Emily chattering about high school drama. But Connor had reached his breaking point. The pressure of pretending, the fear of losing everything, it was too much. As they sat around the table, the words tumbled out before he could stop them. Mom, Dad, I need to tell you something. I'm gay, and I'm in love with a man named Cameron. The silence that followed was deafening. His father's face turned red, veins bulging. What did you just say? He growled, fork clattering to the plate. His mother gasped, hand to her mouth, tears already welling. Emily looked confused, then horrified. This is a joke, right? Dad demanded. You can't be serious. Not in this house. Not in this family. Connor tried to explain, his voice shaking. He talked about how he had struggled for years, how Cameron made him feel seen and loved for the first time. But it fell on deaf ears. Get out, his father said coldly. If that's who you are, you're no son of mine. Pack your things and leave. Tonight. His mother did not defend him, just sobbed quietly. Emily looked away. Connor's heart shattered. He packed a bag with trembling hands. The only things he took were a few clothes, his laptop, and the photo of him and Cameron from their first trip. As he walked out the door, the night air felt cold despite the Texas heat. He called Cameron from the road. It's done, he said, voice breaking. They threw me out. Cameron's voice was steady. Come to me. We'll figure this out together. I love you. The drive to Los Angeles, where Cameron had moved for work, was long and lonely. Connor stopped at motels, replayed the scene in his head, the disgust in his father's eyes burning like acid. Was this the price of being true to himself? The question haunted him mile after mile. Upon arriving in L.A., Cameron welcomed him with open arms in their small apartment in Silver Lake. You're home now, Cameron said, holding him tight. But the pain did not fade overnight. Connor found a job as a barista. Cameron worked as a graphic designer. They built a routine, but the internal conflict raged. Connor questioned if he was worth it, if the sacrifice was too great. Nights were filled with quiet talks about the future, about building something real despite the world's judgment. Friends like Alex, a fellow barista who had faced similar rejection, became a lifeline, offering laughs and advice over cheap coffee. Yet every time Connor saw a family on the street, the ache returned sharper than before. He wondered if his mother had tried to call, if Emily missed him. The silence from Texas spoke volumes. In those early months, Connor learned that survival meant choosing himself every single day, even when the mirror showed only doubt. The city lights became his new compass, guiding him toward a version of life he had never dared to imagine. Connor's first year in Los Angeles tested every limit he thought he possessed. The apartment was cramped, but it felt safe, with Cameron's presence filling the space with quiet reassurance. Mornings started with shared coffee, and late nights ended with conversations that peeled back layers of fear. Cameron worked long hours at the design firm, creating logos for startups, while Connor poured lattes and learned to smile through the occasional side-eye from customers who sensed something different about him. One afternoon, a regular customer muttered a slur under his breath, loud enough for Connor to hear. The words stung like a slap, but instead of shrinking, Connor stood taller. Have a nice day, he replied, voice steady. That small act of defiance marked a turning point. Back home, Cameron listened without judgment, pulling him close and reminding him that their love was not a weakness, but a strength, the kind that survived storms. As weeks turned to months, Connor began volunteering at a local LGBTQ center, helping young people navigate their own coming-out fears. The stories he heard mirrored his own loss of family, yet also showed paths to healing. Alex introduced him to a tight-knit group of friends who became chosen family barbecues in the park, laughter echoing under palm trees. Still, the internal crisis lingered. Connor caught himself wondering if he had ruined his sister's life by forcing her to choose sides. Phone calls to his mother went unanswered until one evening she picked up, voice trembling. "Your father won't let me talk about you," she whispered. "But I miss you, Connor. I just don't know how to fix this." The call ended in tears, leaving Connor raw. Cameron held him through the night, whispering that growth often meant walking away from what once defined you. Together, they planned small steps, a weekend trip to the coast, where they walked barefoot on the sand talking about dreams. Connor started sketching business ideas late at night, inspired by the resilience he saw in others. A tech app for connecting isolated queer youth in conservative towns began to take shape on his laptop. Cameron encouraged every draft, reviewing designs, offering honest feedback. The project became a lifeline, pulling Connor out of the shadows of rejection and into the light of possibility. By the end of that first year, the ache of disownment had not vanished, but it had transformed into fuel. Connor realized that loving Cameron was not the end of his story. It was the beginning of a stronger one, built on choices that no one could take away. Life in Los Angeles settled into a rhythm that felt both fragile and promising. Connor and Cameron's days filled with the ordinary magic of partnership, grocery runs, shared playlists, and the quiet joy of waking up together. Yet misunderstandings crept in like unexpected fog. One evening, after a long shift, Cameron snapped about Connor's reluctance to post photos of them online. "Are you still ashamed?" he asked, voice edged with hurt. Connor froze, the old fear rising. "It's not shame," he replied. "It's protection. I lost my family once, I can't lose you too." The argument escalated, words flying, until Cameron stormed out, slamming the door. Connor sat alone, replaying every doubt, the internal voice whispering that he was destined to push people away. Hours later, Cameron returned, eyes red. "I'm sorry," he said. "I forget sometimes how deep the scars go." They talked until dawn, rebuilding trust with honesty. That night, Connor understood that love demanded vulnerability, even when it terrified him. At the LGBTQ Center, Connor's volunteer work deepened. He mentored a teenager named Jordan whose parents had reacted similarly to his own. Listening to Jordan's story forced Connor to confront his lingering anger. "You're not alone," he told the boy, handing him a card for free counseling. The act of helping others sparked something new in Connor, a sense of purpose beyond survival. Meanwhile, his app idea gained traction after Alex connected him with a small investor. Late nights turned into coding sessions, Cameron offering design input, turning rough sketches into sleek interfaces. Society's prejudice still surfaced, a landlord who hesitated to renew their lease after learning they were a couple, a coworker who avoided eye contact after seeing them kiss goodbye. Each instance tested Connor's resolve, but Cameron's steady presence reminded him that progress came from standing firm. A betrayal arrived unexpectedly when an old college friend from Texas reached out, only to leak Connor's story to their hometown gossip group. The messages flooded in judgment and pity, mixing in equal measure. Connor felt exposed raw, but Cameron helped him draft a response that reclaimed the narrative. "This is my life," Connor posted publicly for the first time. "And I'm proud of it." The support that followed from strangers and new friends outweighed the sting. Through it all, Connor's growth became visible in small ways, a confident stride at work, the way he spoke of Cameron without hesitation. The relationship deepened into something unbreakable, forged in fire. Yet the question of family lingered like an unanswered letter in a drawer. Connor wondered if closure would ever come, or if moving forward meant leaving the past behind forever. Success began to whisper its arrival in subtle ways. Connor's app gained users slowly at first, then in a surge after a local news feature highlighted its role in supporting queer youth. Investors noticed the potential, leading to a modest seed round that allowed Connor to quit the barista job and work full-time on development. Cameron's designs elevated the platform, turning it into a polished tool that connected people across the country. Their apartment filled with celebration, takeout, and laughter as milestones passed one by one. Yet the journey demanded sacrifices. Connor turned down a lucrative freelance offer to focus on the app, knowing it meant tighter budgets for months. Cameron sacrificed weekends to help code late into the night. A friendship strained when Alex felt sidelined by the growing demands of the startup. "You're changing," Alex said one evening over drinks. "And I'm happy for you, but I miss the guy who had time for us." The conversation ended in understanding, but left Connor reflecting on balance. Internal doubts resurfaced during a pitch meeting where a potential backer asked pointed questions about his background. Connor answered with honesty, the Disowned story becoming part of his strength narrative. The room shifted, respect replacing skepticism. Society's pressures continued testing them. A family gathering for Cameron's side brought warmth, contrasting Connor's loss. Cameron's parents embraced him without reservation, reminding Connor of what he had lost. The contrast fueled quiet moments of grief, but also gratitude for the chosen family they were building. A pivotal confrontation arose when Connor's sister Emily finally called after years of silence. "Dad's sick," she said, voice small. "Mom wants you to know, but he won't admit it." The news hit like a wave, forcing Connor to weigh forgiveness against self-preservation. Cameron listened, offering no easy answers. "Whatever you decide, I'm here," he said. Connor chose to send a card expressing well wishes without reopening old wounds. The decision brought peace, but also clarity about boundaries. As the app expanded to new cities, Connor's confidence grew. He spoke at panels, sharing his story with poise, the once broken boy, now a voice for change. Cameron watched with pride, their love evolving into a partnership of equals. The million-dollar horizon remained unseen, but the foundation of resilience was solid. Connor realized that every misunderstanding, every sacrifice had shaped him into someone capable of leading not just an app, but a life defined by authenticity. The breakthrough arrived through an unexpected letter from a lawyer in Chicago. Connor's late uncle, a man he barely remembered from childhood, had passed away, leaving behind a substantial estate built from smart investments in tech and real estate. The will specified everything. Nearly $1.2 million in assets went to Connor, the only family member who had shown the courage to live openly. The uncle's note attached explained it all. He too had hidden his identity decades ago, watching from afar as Connor's story made local news. "You did what I never could," the letter read. "This is yours. Use it to build what matters." Connor stared at the documents in disbelief, Cameron reading over his shoulder. The news spread quietly at first, then reached Texas when the family learned through mutual relatives. Shock rippled through Willow Creek. Connor's father, who had once disowned him, now faced the reality that the black sheep held the fortune they had assumed would stay within the fold. The emotional weight settled slowly. Connor and Cameron discussed the money for weeks, weighing options. They decided to expand the app nationally, hiring a small team and donating a portion to the center that had supported them. Yet the true test came when Connor's mother called, begging for a meeting. "Your father is ashamed," she said. "He can't even look at me when we talk about you." Connor agreed to a video call, the first contact in years. The screen showed faces etched with regret, his father's eyes downcast, unable to meet his gaze. "We were wrong," Dad muttered, voice thick. "The money, it's yours, but we hope there's room for forgiveness." Connor felt the old pain rise, but also a new calm. He offered no financial handout, instead extending an invitation to visit Los Angeles on their own terms. "Healing starts with honesty," he said. The call ended with heavy silence, but Connor walked away lighter. Cameron held him afterward, affirming the growth. "You didn't let them define you," he whispered. The million-dollar gift had not just changed their finances, it had shifted power, exposing the family's prejudice in stark light. Connor used part of the funds to buy a modest home for himself, and Cameron a place filled with light and plans for the future. The app's launch party became a celebration of survival, friends old and new toasting to the journey. In that moment, Connor understood the full circle his story had taken from loss to legacy. The family's visit to Los Angeles arrived months later, tense and tentative. Connor's parents and Emily stepped off the plane, eyes wide at the city's sprawl. The reunion at the new home carried layers of unspoken history. Dad shuffled through the door, head lowered, unable to raise his eyes to the success surrounding him, the sleek furniture, the view of the hills. "This is impressive," he managed, voice strained. Mom hugged Connor, tears flowing freely, while Emily marveled at the app's office space they toured the next day. Conversations skirted the past, at first focusing on neutral ground, the weather, the app's impact. But truth demanded its moment. Over dinner, Dad finally spoke, the million-dollar reality hanging heavy. "I disowned you because I was scared," he admitted. "Scared of what people would say, scared of losing the son I thought I knew. Now I see what I lost and what you gained. I can't even look at myself, let alone you, without feeling the weight." The confession cracked the room open. Connor listened without interruption, the years of hurt surfacing, but not overwhelming. Cameron sat beside him, a silent pillar of support. Emily added her piece. I was too young to fight for you, but I never stopped caring. Connor's response came from a place of hard-won wisdom. I don't need your money or your approval anymore, he said gently. But I'm willing to build something new if you're ready to meet me where I am. No grand reconciliation unfolded that night, only small steps, a promise to stay in touch, and offer for Dad to visit the auto shop Connor had funded for a local youth program. The family left the next day, heads still bowed, not in defeat, but in quiet acknowledgement of their choices. Back in Texas, the gossip shifted from scandal to reluctant respect. Connor and Cameron celebrated privately, toasting with simple wine on their balcony, the city lights mirroring the path they had walked. The app reached 100,000 users. Donations flowed to support centers nationwide. Connor's internal peace solidified, the crises of identity, the pressures of prejudice, all resolved into a clear sense of self. Cameron proposed on a quiet evening, the ring simple yet meaningful. You've shown me what real strength looks like, he said. Connor accepted, tears of joy replacing those of loss. The journey had demanded everything, yet given more in return. In the end, this story reveals that rejection can fracture a life, but courage and love rebuild it stronger than before. The $1 million gift was never just cash, it was a mirror forcing every character to face their truths and the consequences of their choices. Connor's growth from hidden pain to open leadership shows that family is not always blood, and that forgiveness is a personal decision, not a requirement. Cameron's unwavering support proves partnership thrives when both people choose growth over comfort. While prejudice lingers in the world, the quiet victories of authenticity and connection light the way forward. No grand speeches or easy fixes, just the steady power of living true to yourself, one decision at a time.